video lecture, we will discuss about the frequency response and bandwidth of the amplifier. So already we know that the amplifier is going to amplify the signals of a different frequency. But it is not necessary that the amplifier will amplify all the frequency. Some of the amplifier can amplify the higher frequency, some of the amplifier is amplifying the lower frequency. But if you have the ideal amplifier, then it will amplify all the frequency, low frequency to the high frequency. But if you want to see what is the response of the amplifier with the different frequency, then we have to obtain a frequency response curve. And from that we can find out what is the bandwidth of the amplifier. So what is the setup for finding a frequency response curve? That here, suppose we have this amplifier. It can be any kind of the amplifier is there. And this amplifier has connected a load resistance RL. That is a load. Sometimes we have to connect a dummy load. At the input, we are connecting a frequency source, and that can be a audio frequency oscillator, AFO, or you can connect any kind of a function generator which will provide you the different frequency. Now to measure this power gain, here we are going to measure what is the power gain of the amplifier, and we will measure this power gain in terms of the dB. So here across the load resistance, that is the output of the amplifier, here we can connect a dB meter. dB meter is nothing but it is a kind of a voltmeter. Remember, the voltmeter that is calibrated in terms of a dB. So it is known as a dB meter. So this is the setup for finding a frequency response curve of the amplifier. Now through this AFO or from the function generator, we apply the different frequency like a 20 Hz. Here my input frequency will be a 20 Hz, 30 Hz, 50 Hz, 100, 1 kilo, 10 kilo, 100 kilohertz. We apply this kind of the different frequency. Remember, I will apply the 20 Hz, then 50 Hz, it will be a 100 Hz, 200 Hz, then we apply a 1 kilohertz frequency, 5 kilohertz frequency, then the 10 kilohertz frequency, and 50 kilohertz. So in this way, you can apply a different frequency to the amplifier, and you can see, you can measure what is the output power of the amplifier in a dB meter. Remember. And then we have to plot the curve, a power against the frequency, that is known as a frequency response curve. But basically, if you want to find out this frequency response curve, then the standard method is that you apply a mid frequency range. And normally the mid frequency range is nothing but it is a 1 kilohertz. So at the input, we applied a sine wave of a 1 kilohertz frequency. Okay, 1 kilohertz frequency, and then we have to see what is the output power in dB. So it can be a 1 dB, 2 dB, minus 5 dB, minus 3 dB, correct? Then what we have to do, then you change the amplitude of the input signal. Here we have to set the amplitude of the input signal in such a manner that this dB meter will indicate the 0 dB. Remember. So what you have to do, you have to apply the 1 kilohertz frequency, set the amplitude of the input signal such that the output will indicate a 0 dB. So for a 1 kilohertz, I will write that the power gain is 0 dB. Now you can start once you have set the mid frequency and the output power for 0 dB, then you apply 20 Hz, 50 Hz, 100 Hz, and you measure what is the output power. So let us say in this 20 Hz the output power is a minus 10 dB. Then if you increase the frequency, then the gain of the amplifier is going to be increased, and this can be a minus 8 dB. This will be a minus 5 dB will be there. Here you can have minus 2 dB will be there. Then the gain is increased up to a 0 dB. Then again if I will increase, then what will happen? What will happen? That this will remain a 0 dB. Then here this will become a minus 2 dB, minus 5 dB, minus 10 dB. In this way, the output power, this is nothing but output power, is going to change in this manner. And now we plot this curve. So how can we plot this curve? Here. On the x-axis, we will consider a frequency, and on the y-axis, we will consider a power. So this will be a frequency that will be in hertz. This will be a power gain, you can say, and let me measure in terms of dB. Now remember, in this case, the power gain, maximum power gain is 0. So let us say this is representing a 0 dB. And somewhere here, this is my 0 dB. You can have a minus 10 dB, minus 5 dB. Here you can have minus 3 dB will be there. Right? And on the x-axis, the frequency is there. Now here, remember that if we use a linear scale, then you cannot cover this range of the frequency, because my minimum frequency is 20 Hz, maximum is a 100 kHz, and if we use the linear scale, then you cannot cover a lower value to the higher value. Either you can plot for the lower value or you can plot for the higher value. But if I want to cover the complete frequency range, I have to use a kind of a graph paper which is known as a semi-log graph paper. So in semi-log, what we have? That on the y-axis, whatever the scale will be there, it will be a linear. But on the x-axis, whatever the scale will be there, it will be a log scale. And in a log scale, suppose we have a minimum is my 100 Hz, then my next cycle will start with the 100 Hz. Then after we have a next cycle, that will start with the 1 kHz. Here the 10 kHz will be there, and this will be a 100 kHz. So you can see from 10 to 100, 100 to 1K, here the frequency is increasing 10 times, here again the frequency is increasing by 10 times. So in a log scale, whatever the frequency range will be there, you can cover from minimum to maximum. Now from 10 to 100 Hz, again there will be a 10 division. But the 10 division will not be a linear one. So here if it is a 10 Hz, then you can have somewhere here it will be a 20, somewhere here it will be a 50, somewhere here it will be 80 and this will be 90 and 100. So it is a non-linear and it is in a log scale. So here, and using its log scale, you can cover the complete range. Now here, if we have the different data, and according to this different data, if we plot this curve, then the curve will be like this. This is my maximum, and here this is your frequency response curve. And you can see at a 1 kilohertz frequency, what is the output power? It is a 0 dB. For a lower frequency, like a 10 to 100, the power gain of the amplifier is go on increasing, and at higher frequency, again, this output power is go on decreasing. And already we have discussed why the gain of the amplifier is poor in a low frequency part as well as in the high frequency part. This is known as a low frequency part, this is known as a mid frequency part, and this is your a high frequency part. I already mentioned in my previous lecture when we were discussing about the frequency distortion. So at that time I already mentioned that why the power gain of the amplifier is low at a lower frequency, and that is due to a coupling capacitor. Due to a coupling capacitor of the amplifier. Then at a higher frequency, the gain of the amplifier is decreasing. That is due to a inter-electrode, or you can say kind of a distributed capacitors of the device. So that is due to a inter-electrode capacitor of a active device. Means I already mentioned that suppose if we have a transistor, it has a base, emitter and collector. So whatever the capacitance exists between the base to emitter, base to collector, or the capacitance exists between the collector to emitter, then it is known as a inter-electrode capacitance. So that inter-electrode capacitance, the reactance will be very low at a higher frequency, and that's why the gain is go on decreasing. Here the coupling capacitor is effective at a lower frequency. Lower frequency, the reactance of the coupling capacitor is very low. That's why the gain of the amplifier is low. Okay? So this is known as a frequency response curve of a amplifier. Now here we can see that amplifier is not amplifying all the signal equally. Okay? But there is some portion where almost the gain of the amplifier is constant. In some of the amplifier, you will find this kind of the peak. Here at a high frequency, we have this kind of the peak. Means that suddenly the gain of the amplifier is increasing, and that you will find normally in a transformer coupled amplifier. So in a transformer coupled amplifier, there will be a kind of a distributed capacitance and the inductance of a transformer, and due to that you will get kind of a resonance at a higher frequency, and that's why the gain is power gain of the amplifier is increasing. But if you have the RC coupled amplifier, then in RC coupled amplifier this kind of the peak you will not find. This is possible in case of a transformer coupled amplifier. Okay, so in a frequency response curve, you can see from this part to this part, here the gain of the amplifier is almost constant. That is the flatness of the response curve. So this amplifier can be used to amplify this much range of the frequency. So which frequency is responded by the amplifier, it is known as the bandwidth. Here if you see, then this part of the amplifier is almost a flat. Remember, this is almost a flat, and that you can consider to be a bandwidth of the amplifier. Normally the bandwidth means always we consider a half power point. Half power bandwidth. And when the power is going to be half, then if you calculate this power in dB, that will be a minus 3 dB. Remember, for the half power point, the power of the amplifier will be always going to be a minus 3 dB. Then you can calculate 10 log PO by Pi, and you can put the PO is equal to Pi by 2, you will find it is a minus 3 dB. So in this curve, we have this 0 dB. This is representing a 0 dB. Correct? Then what is my half power point? That is a minus 3 dB. So from this minus 3 dB, if we draw this line, then this line is intersecting the curve at this point, then this is representing a F1, that is known as a lower cutoff frequency, and this line is intersecting at this point, that is known as F2, upper cutoff frequency. So the bandwidth means it is represented as a upper cutoff frequency minus lower cutoff frequency. So here you can see that over this range of the frequency, the gain of the amplifier is almost a flat, almost a constant. Approximately you can say it is a constant. So this amplifier is useful to amplify the frequency from F1 to F2. And for the rest of the frequency, the gain is low. This is known as a bandwidth of the amplifier. Normally, if you have the audio amplifier, then this bandwidth will be from a 20 Hz to 20 kHz. Means its maximum frequency will be a 20 kHz. In case of the middle amplifier, this bandwidth will be up to a 5 MHz. So depending on what is your application, you have to design the amplifier and you have to set up the bandwidth of the amplifier. Okay? So bandwidth means it is representing the flatness part of your frequency response curve. Remember. And that is one of the important property of the amplifier. And according to the bandwidth, you can classify the amplifier. I already mentioned that if the bandwidth is 20 kHz, you can consider this is a audio amplifier. If it is a 5 to 7 MHz, it is a video amplifier. If it is a 30 MHz, it will call a RF amplifier. Then you can have a VHF amplifier, UHF amplifier. So different types of the amplifiers are there and they are used in a different application. Okay. Now we will see another important point for the testing of the amplifier. Testing of the amplifier means here you can see I have to apply the different frequency and from that I can find out what is the bandwidth and for which frequency the distortion is going to start. That is a frequency distortion. Okay? Already we have learned what is the phase distortion. So quickly, if you want to see what is the frequency distortion and phase distortion on the amplifier, then we have one method which is known as a square wave testing of the amplifier. So the next topic is a square wave testing of the amplifier. Remember, through this testing, you can find out, approximate what will be the bandwidth and what is the distortion in a low frequency and a high frequency. You cannot have some numerical value, but you can see that what is the characteristics of the amplifier at a lower frequency and a higher frequency. Now the thing is that here instead of a sine wave, why we are using a square wave? Remember, the square wave so at the input of the amplifier, we apply this kind of a square wave. And what is the importance of the square wave? That in a Fourier analysis, you must have learned the square wave consists of number of the odd harmonics. Remember. So when I am applying a square wave of a 1 kilohertz, means the 3 kilohertz, 5 kilohertz, 7 kilohertz is automatically applied at the input of the amplifier. Here I will explain you that how it consists of. That suppose we have a sine wave, let us say the frequency is f. Now I will take another frequency of a 3f, and if this 3f is superposed on a fundamental frequency, then the shape of the signal will be like this. If I will take one more frequency, that is of a higher, another harmonics, and if this phi f will be superposed on this, then the shape of the signal will be this. So if you go on adding higher harmonics, then your sine wave is going to be converted into a square wave. So here the square wave consists of all the harmonics, and mathematically if you want to write the square wave, then it is written as V is equal to Vm sine omega t, that is my fundamental frequency f. Then we have added a third harmonic, that is a 1 by 3 Vm sine 3 omega t. So third harmonic is added. Then the fifth harmonic is there, 1 by 5 sine 5 omega t, and so on. All the odd harmonics means here in this square wave f is present, 3f is present, 5f is present, 7f is present. So all the harmonics are present. So what it means? That suppose I am applying a square wave of a frequency 100 Hz, it means that this square wave consists of a 100 Hz, 300 Hz, 700 Hz, sorry, it is a 500 Hz, 700 hertz like this. Okay? So I don't have to apply the 100, 300, 500, 700 separately. If I will apply 100, means all the frequency is applied to a amplifier circuit. And that's why here the square wave consists of all the odd harmonics. That's why it is useful for a testing of the amplifier. Now instead of a square wave, you can also apply a sawtooth wave, because the sawtooth wave contains all the harmonic, even harmonic as well as the odd harmonics. Then you have to see what is the shape of the signal in the output. Remember, here once you apply the square wave at the input of the amplifier, then if you see the shape of the signal of the output on an oscilloscope, then from the shape we can judge what is the distortion in the amplifier. Is there a phase distortion? Is there the high frequency response is there poor or not? That you can find out from the shape. So here let us see a different shape of the signal and what kind of the distortion will be there, you can judge. So what is the setup for this? Again, we have this amplifier. We apply a square wave from the function generator. We have to use this instrument which can generate the square wave like this. And amplifier is connected to a kind of an instrument which is known as CRO. It is called a cathode ray oscilloscope. So that will give you the visual representation of the output of the amplifier. You can see what is the shape of the signal. Correct? So here if we apply the square wave and in the output, if you see the perfectly it is a square wave, then you can say there is no distortion of the amplifier. So remember, here whatever the square wave you apply first of all square wave of 100 hertz. Then you apply the square wave of 100 hertz. Then you apply a 1 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz, like this, and see what is the shape of the signal. Correct? So here in the output, if I am finding a perfectly square wave, if the shape of the input and the output is same, then you can say that there is no distortion. No distortion in the amplifier, and that is the ideal case. But if this output, so suppose the shape of the output signal is like this. What is the difference that you can see here? The edges are not sharp. This edge is very sharp, but the amplified signal, if the edges is not sharp, means there is a loss of a higher frequency. Higher frequency is not amplified properly. So this is known as a high frequency attenuation. Remember, if the shape of the signal is this, here the flat part is going to be a curve in the middle of the square wave. This indicates the low frequency is not amplified. This is known as a low frequency attenuation. Means here when you are applying 100 Hz, then what is the lower frequency is 300 Hz, and then next is a 500 Hz. Means the 100 Hz and the 300 Hz is not amplified properly, but the 500 Hz and onwards we have the proper amplification. So this is known as a low frequency attenuation. Now, if we have this kind of the shape, remember, here instead of a curve, we have a curve on the upper side. So there is a low frequency is amplified more than that. That is a excessive. Low frequency booster. The gain of the low frequency is very high compared to a mid frequency part. Now, if you see that suppose the corner, if this corner is pushed up, here I already mentioned that the corner of the square wave, it is representing a high frequency response. Here this corner is pushed up, means the gain of the high frequency is large. So this is the excessive high frequency booster. So gain of the high frequency is very large. Now if we have this kind of the shape, so here the flat portion, instead of that we have a line with some slope, and that line is with the negative slope. It is indicating that the low frequency phase distortion. So at lower frequency, the phase difference between the input and output is not a 180 degree. But if it is a very large, then you can have this kind of the shape of the signal. Sorry, here this is not representing a low frequency, but this is representing a high frequency phase distortion. Now instead of that, if we have the line like this, a line with a positive slope, then this is representing a low frequency phase distortion. It is a low frequency phase distortion. Correct? Now sometimes instead of that, if this is the output in the amplifier, then this indicates the high frequency attenuation and phase distortion. So the phase distortion is also large, and high frequency response of the amplifier is also a poor. Then you will find this kind of a triangle wave in the output of the amplifier. If we have the shape like this, then this is representing a low frequency attenuation and phase distortion. Both are there. So at this frequency is low frequency is not amplified, as well as the phase distortion is also a very large. Sometimes you can have this kind of a signal. So here, whatever the flat portion is there, in this flat portion, there is a kind of a ringing. Is there. It is indicating a kind of a oscillation. So this indicates that your amplifier is not stable at this particular frequency. So this is known as a instability of a amplifier. Instability means that at any time your amplifier may be converted into a oscillator. Okay? So here you apply a square wave at the input of the amplifier, then you see what is the shape of the square wave in the output of the amplifier. If the shape is like this, then from there you can get the low frequency response as well as the high frequency response of the amplifier. And if there will be some kind of a phase distortion is there, then also you can get at which frequency the phase distortion is going to start. So to see quickly a frequency response of the amplifier, the square wave testing is very, very important.